Back in the early 1970s, I was the coroner in Garland County, Arkansas, and like a lot of people at the time, I went to see the movie Walking Tall. The story of the tough sheriff with a big stick and a 41 Magnum made an impression on everybody. Two of the men who watched it with me actually went on to become police officers because of that movie, and yes, I even bought the same gun Buford carried, a Smith & Wesson 41 Magnum. That was the power of the legend. Before we go any further, especially for new viewers, I want to explain something about who I am and why this story matters to me. I have served as coroner in two Arkansas counties, including Pulaski County, our state's capital county, and one of the busiest death investigation jurisdictions in the region. I also served as director of the Arkansas State Crime Laboratory, overseeing forensic operations statewide. Earlier in my career, I was appointed to a special Arkansas task force to examine failures and poor practices within the medical examiner's office, problems serious enough that they resulted in major house cleaning at the lab and sweeping reforms in how death investigations were handled in our state. For decades, I have trained law enforcement, coroners, medical examiners, prosecutors, and community professionals nationwide on death investigation, homicide, youth violence, and gang crime. I've taught in classrooms, lecture halls, and police academies across the country. This is the world I come from. I'm not a talking head. I'm someone who has spent his entire career in the science and practice of determining what actually happened when a life is taken. And truth, not myth, is what matters. Now, like a lot of folks, I grew up believing the Walking Tall story. In Hot Springs, our newspaper editor, Mike Masterson, even kept a fake big Buford stick in his office. Later, Mike won a national reporting fellowship and traveled the country in a motorhome writing stories. When he reached McNairy County, Tennessee, Buford Pusser's home, he expected to meet the hero from the movies. Instead, after interviewing people who worked directly with Pusser, including Pusser's own chief deputy, Mike came back and said his illusions about the man had been shattered. That was the moment I realized that something about this story didn't line up with reality. And then came Mike Elam. Let me say this plainly and without hesitation. No one has done more to uncover the truth behind the Buford Pusser legend than Mike Elam. Mike approached this story the same way investigators are supposed to approach a death scene, with documents, measurements, photographs, maps, timelines, court records, and witness statements. Not rumors, not folklore, and not Hollywood. His work, his book, Buford Pusser, The Other Story, and his research on his social media pages has become the most complete evidence-based account of what actually happened in McNairy County. On his Facebook page, also called Buford Pusser, The Other Story, Mike has posted scene diagrams, bullet trajectories, maps of the roadway, contradictions in Pusser's statement, family accounts, deputy recollections, and documentary evidence that simply does not support the heroic ambush story the world was sold. Followers on his page, including people who knew members of the Pusser family, repeatedly say Mike's work is the single greatest reason the truth has finally surfaced after more than 5 decades. As Mike always says, the truth has no agenda. I've lived my entire professional life by something similar. The truth is not negotiable. And eventually, years of Mike's research lined up perfectly with something long overdue, a full cold case review by the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. For the first time since 1967, Pauline's case was examined using modern science. The TBI exhumed her body, performed a complete autopsy, and conducted forensic analyses that simply weren't available at the time. What they found matches what Mike Elam had been documenting for years. Pauline was shot in the back of the head, not in the forehead, as the original story claimed. Bloodstain evidence shows she was most likely shot outside the car and then placed inside. The supposed rolling ambush absolutely does not match the physical evidence. Buford's own facial wound is consistent with a close-range self-inflicted shot, not one fired from a passing vehicle. The autopsy revealed older injuries, including a previous nasal fracture consistent with past domestic violence. And both the district attorney and the TBI have now stated publicly that based on the totality of evidence, if Buford Pusser were alive today, they would have probable cause to indict him for Pauline's murder. This is not rumor, this is not speculation, this is the official conclusion of a modern forensic review. And if you followed Mike Elam's work, you know none of this is new. He's been pointing to these same contradictions and physical realities for years. He followed the evidence when nobody else wanted to touch it. His research helped lay the foundation for the truth to finally reach daylight. This episode is not about tearing down a legend, it's about lifting up a woman whose story was buried under that legend for far too long. It's about Pauline, and it's about giving credit where it's due to Mike Elam, whose persistence and dedication to factual truth helped make all of this possible. If you want to follow Mike's work directly, his Facebook page is Buford Pusser, The Other Story. You can get on his YouTube the same way, Buford Pusser, The Other Story, and his book, Buford Pusser, The Other Story, is available at all major outlets. Mike will join me in a full episode soon, so you can hear directly from him. I'm Steve Navoychek, the 501 Coroner. Y'all be kind to each other, okay?